All right, we'll get going. I'll talk quickly about some of those guys that were injured or beat up in the game last week. Their status, like I said last night, Greg Eisworth was practiced a little bit last week, towards the end of last week, was out of practice yesterday. We'll have a great evaluation as we really get into the thick of this week of where he's at, but certainly doing a lot better. Orion Vance, same thing, was at practice yesterday, so that part really positive as well for us. So I think both guys, I would say right now at least, are probable to questionable for Saturday's football game. And with that said, huge challenge for us. That's all right. Huge challenge for us this week on the road. And I think a Texas Tech team that, again, was really talented a year ago, and you can see got a new coaching staff. Coach Wells has done a great job. Their kids are playing really hard. I think a great challenge for our football team going into this week.
Matt, talking about last night, your thoughts on Allen? Plus, what legacy did he leave at Iowa State?
You know, I think Allen's really unique. His journey here and his journey now. You know, I think the thing that I'm most proud of with Allen was a tremendous player. We all know that. He was tremendous before we got here, and, you know, was certainly had a great ability to put a great finish to his career while we were here at Iowa State together. What I really loved about Allen was what happened after his career here, because, you know, I think everybody built Allen up to this great stature, and tough times came. And, you know, I think that happens in every athlete's career at some point. And for Allen, it happened really after he left Iowa State. And I know that was a really tough situation for Allen not getting drafted. And I think all of us in our career have to go up the rough side of the mountain at some point, sometime. And for Allen, it came in his professional time. And I think it really challenged Allen. Do you love football? Is this what you want to do? Do you want to become the best? And, you know, to be honest with you, it's been really fun to watch him over the last 2 years, because he went to Jacksonville, had a great receiver coach down there, really went to work on his craft. I couldn't have been prouder of him, and just talking to him through his journey in Jacksonville. Obviously, you know, gets signed late last year by Green Bay, and you know, is able to actually play the game a year ago, gets a reception, goes to the end of the season, they have a coaching change, and it kind of all of a sudden everything's in flux again. And, you know, we had a great talk before he went to camp, and I think there was a little bit of frustration. You know, I'm going to have to make my way on special teams. And it's so funny because, you know, especially here at Iowa, we build some of these guys up into this grand vision. Well, Allen's had to work harder than anybody to just make the team. And then he gets on, because of his great play on special teams through fall camp, gets the ability to get into, you know, the mix at receiver. And, you know, it's funny because he's talked about how hard he's worked, and, you know, you can even just see working with some of our guys this summer at times back here, the knowledge that he's learned at the receiver position, the ability to bring it back. But so for Allen, his journey, I think, is defining of who he is right now, and it's really fun to watch. I think what you saw last night is what you're going to see a lot more of in the future from him, because of how hard he's worked to get to be the best version of him he can be. And, you know, I think his legacy here, he was part of that Joel Lanning senior class that really flipped it here. And we're who we are today because of what he and obviously a lot of his teammates were able to do for our entire football program. So they're the guys that flipped it, and obviously we owe a ton to Allen and that senior class.
A couple of weeks ago you had said you love to go for it on fourth down as much as anybody, but the last couple of weeks you've been doing it much more. Just what are kind of the benefits, I guess, of what kind of energy that can provide, or boost that can provide to the team when you do achieve that? I guess what's led you the last couple of weeks to just go more full-fledged on it?
Yeah, you know, I think really all of them have been situational, and where we were in the football game, what was the flow of the game during those situations, and then, you know, what was best for the team. And I think you have to realize when you do go for it on fourth and down, if you don't get it, you're certainly giving up field position of some variety. And, you know, I think one of the things for us is it's got to be calculated, you know, and I think a lot of it's feel, a lot of it's an in-game piece. You could say, man, we're going to go for it before the game, but I think that's really false, because as a game, and we've talked about this before, there's such a flow to each and every game. And I think when your defense is playing really well, you can say, well, man, you want to go for it more, or do you really want to punt the ball and you want to get the ball back in even better field position? And so I think you got to think about all those things throughout a football game. And one area for me that was great to see in that game is we weren't great in our fourth down conversion going into the West Virginia game. We were 1 of 7. It was great that it was something we put a lot of attention to last week. And we were able to at least be able to capitalize on that. We were 3 for 3 on Saturday. So something that helped us, and obviously those conversions helped us in the football game as well.
When you say you put a great emphasis on it throughout the week, I guess,
Yeah, and I don't even know throughout the week, other than just evaluating our process to make sure we were doing the best possible things for our situations that we could. And, I think the emphasis of it was just saying, as you would anything that maybe you're not where you want to be, how do you, whether it's structurally how we organize it or how we practice it, I think you're always evaluate how you can be better.
How do you feel about the way Matt Leo started to show up over the course of the end of last year and then coming into this year, and especially without Jaquan, and we talked about Zach and how important he is, but how Matt figures into all of that?
Yeah, I think Randy asked a really great question last week about who are some of those unsung heroes, and I think, of the last 2 weeks, my response was of the first 5 weeks, I think of the last 2 weeks, Matt Leo's got to be one of those names that's got to be talked about. What am I excited about with Matt? Matt's a senior. Matt's journey is unique. Matt's a guy that has worked really, really hard here to be really, really good. And Matt's certainly got great talent. And again, it's one of those guys you visually see him and you're like, oh, that guy's a great football player. But yet there's so much more to being a good football player. And I think the time and the effort that Matt's put into his craft to become a good football player has been so rewarding to see when this team has needed it the most. Matt's been able to give it. You're talking 4 plays in a row in the second half that were really maybe game changing. That really Matt were able to make for us in a critical moment. So I'm really proud of him, and I think he's again a part of a senior class where we say this all the time in our program. When our seniors are playing their best football, we do have a chance to be successful, and it's great that Matt is doing that for us because we need it.
Matt, I know playing isn't the flashiest thing in the world, but how big has Joe Rivera's presence been? And he's been teams deep a handful of times inside the 5 now.
Yeah, I think Joe is one of those guys that he earned so much credibility from myself and our coaching staff last year when the Drake game came, and we cold day, tough day, and he's got to go in the game to punt for us, and he really kind of saved the day in a lot of ways. I grew a great appreciation for him in those moments, and he had a really hard job a year ago too. He's older, and I know nobody thinks that's a flashy job until the ball's not down when it needs to be down. And I think he gained trust by doing the small things really well. And he's a guy that all of a sudden you have an injury in the summer, and everybody else outside of here is like, man, what are you gonna do? And I think we felt pretty confident that Joe's got a chance to be really good. And it was fun to watch him go to work too, because once that went down, I think you almost saw a sense of, man, I'm ready for this opportunity. He's made the most of it. He had an incredible fall camp for us. And, I think we've got great confidence in him, and he's gaining confidence and earned the confidence by now what he's doing in the games. But he's the same guy. What you see in practice, if you came on practice, we punt on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, man, he's really special, and now he's the same guy on Saturday. So I think it's just a great message for our team that if you practice and you do right and you're willing to strain, you usually have the ability and the confidence to play well on Saturdays, and Joe's a shining example of that for us right now.
You talk a lot about your seniors playing their best football in their senior year, but I think if you include defense, something like 23 of your 29 touchdowns have been scored by guys who are non-seniors. What do you think that says about the program and the growth over the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's fascinating, and I was looking at that just from last week's game. Everybody was either a freshman or a sophomore that scored points on Saturday. And, I think one of the things for us is, you can look at our team and say, boy, it's a senior-laden team or an older team, but the reality of it is not. It's really a young football team in a whole lot of ways. And I think one of the things that's been really fun about this group and really this dynamic that we have on this year's team is you do have some veteran guys, some guys that have been here a long time, but the bulk of this team and this roster is young. And I think the thing that's so positive is they're seeing these veterans that have sacrifice given, and these young guys are starting to follow suit. And I've always said that when you have a good program, a program that's able to sustain success, it's got to have great leadership on the top that these young guys can understand, how do I go to work every day? And we're really fortunate right now in our program that exists. So I think it's why some of those young guys are able to have success and some of the successes that they are having right now as well.
19 of Charlie's 23 catches have been for first downs this year. It seems like that was kind of a big thing with Hakeem last year. Is it just happening, or is it the connection with Brock, or is he the guy that in big moments you're like, he can get us a first down?
Yeah, I think a little bit of probably all of that. I think Charlie is a guy that, again, is earning trust and earning confidence because of the consistency in which he's doing what he's asked to do. And, I think part of that came even a little bit last year, when Chase went down. I thought Charlie really went in and really started his career here at Iowa State in a positive way, was able to carry that into the off season. And I think he's certainly a guy that he's got a really unique skill set. He's a big wide receiver in a lot of ways. He's a guy that grew up as a wide receiver, played wide receiver, and has really had to learn how to play tight end. And, has really went to work on that. But he's made some big plays and big moments for this football team. And I do think you're starting to get the confidence of your coaches, but also starting to get the confidence of the quarterback as well.
Reese looked like he gained a lot of his yards, center guard, right in that area. Is that maybe something he does best? He doesn't give up on the hole immediately, or does that even make sense?
Yeah,
I see the guy going forward. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. I think Brees. The one thing Brees does have is he's got a natural running back vision, and all I mean by that is, Brees was a tailback coming in here. He played tailback in a very similar offense of what we run here at Iowa State, and I think that's a little bit different for some of those other guys in the room, but Brees has that, and so I think that vision and understanding of the offense certainly allows him, and again, we'll use Coach Manning's word of accelerated vision. It allows him to really accelerate where he's going to go with the ball, or feel where that ball needs to go on each and every play. And it's always different for a running back because of what the defense is doing on every play. But I thought he had great vision on Saturday night. I thought he did a great job of sticking his foot in the ground and getting vertical, and I thought those were certainly positives for him. And as to the running back, we asked it last week, and I really mean this when I say it. Hey, you got to earn them in practice. And I think every time you go out there and have success on Saturday, and you earn the right to have success on Saturday because of what you did in practice, you certainly start to put a little bit of positivity in your bank a little bit, and I think it'll be interesting to watch how he handles that. But also, it can be handled in the opposite way for a young player sometimes too. You think you're really good, and all of a sudden you don't do the little things well, and next thing you know, you're not playing. So I think it's a great challenge for any evolving player in any program, and certainly our program. So we'll see how he responds and see how that whole running back room responds this week.
The run defense was strong on Saturday. It's been strong the last couple of years. How important is stopping the run? Is that the first focus when building a strong defense?
Yeah, I think at least it is for us. It always has been. I think our whole thing has been the ability to make sure that we're really strong in the rushing game. And I think it's really hard to play great defense today, but forever, if you're not going to have the ability to stop the run. And so, I think we're growing there this year. I don't know if we started off maybe exactly where we wanted to early in the season, but I think we're getting better as the weeks go here. And I think a little bit of that is credit to our guys starting to settle into their roles and responsibilities. But, obviously it's something we'll have to continue to do, and great challenges lie ahead. And, great challenge lies ahead this week. Really talented running back, a veteran offensive line. So they'll really test that and challenge that early in this football game.
It looked like Joe Skates got kind of emotional after he scored his first touchdown on Saturday, and then obviously the TV cameras caught where he came up behind you and gave you a hug. How have you seen him change in his time since he got on campus, and what's kind of his journey been like up to this time?
Yeah, I think that's what I love about coaching is, for me, it's way more about, man, you see some of these young people, and they all come from different backgrounds, and how do you help these young people become the best version of them they can be? And it's truly my greatest joy in what I get to do. And you know, Joe's not a finished product. Joe's a young man that's worked really, really hard. Nobody's made more growth and change in the last 12 months that I would say than Joe Skates. But, you know, Joe is a young man that knows it. He knows that the structure and the discipline that he needs, and, you know, he's been willing to listen and willing to use that to better himself, to become the best he can be. And I think Joe's a super talent. I think he's one of the most talented players in our program, and just a young guy that's craving to become the best version of him that he possibly can be. So, you know, it's really fun and rewarding to watch him grow, and that positive thing. You know, I had a great catch last week against TCU. You know, see him then be able to go make a great play in the game. You know, and you see his snaps slowly going up in a positive way, and he's earning it. He's practicing really well. He's taking care of his body. All the little things that really good players do that have his talent that reach their full potential. So it's gonna be fun to watch Joe grow in this program, because I think he's got, you know, he's got all the potential in the world.
Did you realize that was him right away when he was?
No, but quickly in my mind, I figured out who it was. You know, and Joe and I got a great relationship, and you know, sometimes it's, if you know me, I'm gonna pretty much tell you how it is, right, wrong, or indifferent. And you know, I think Joe and I have had those long talks and conversations. So I appreciate him a great deal, and like I said, I appreciate that he wants that discipline in his life, and he's done a great job using it to better himself.
Texas Tech has had to do some quarterback shuffling since Bowman went down. What have you seen out of Duffy the last 2 games? Still a balanced offense.
Yeah, you know, I think really fortunate that to have a guy like Jed Duffy. You know, there's a guy that he played so much last year, and you can tell he was a confident football player a year ago. I remember, you know, as we were preparing a year ago for Texas Tech, you know, and Jed had went in and they'd beaten TCU at TCU, and Jed really was kind of the catalyst to that. And I was like, man, this guy's a really impressive football player. And now, kind of as it's turned back over to him a little bit, it's been really fun to watch him. You know, you can tell he's obviously a dual threat quarterback. He can use his feet to extend plays. He's got this arm that can make all the throws. He's got great weapons to get the ball to, and you know, I think he's a super talent. So it's one of those great challenges for us again, where that dual threat quarterback, that guy that can really make you miss in the run game, but also has got the ability to really attack you in the passing game. And I think he's done a really good job, and I think they've done a great job putting him in position to be successful.
This is the first time you've taken on Matt Wells, when you guys are both head coaches. What do you think of him, and how excited are you to go up against him?
Yeah, you know, I got a lot of respect for Coach Wells. I really don't know him a whole lot other than the opportunity to meet him, you know, this past spring. But you know, I think anybody that builds a program like he did at Utah State, and, you know, the success they had, I got to watch that from afar, and just a lot of respect for what he did, and now watching them on their film, to be honest with you, and watching how their kids play, the attitude, the effort, the intent that they play with in all phases of the game are really fun to watch. So I got a lot of respect for him.
You got asked about Leo at the beginning, but Jamal Johnson blew up, I think, 2 different plays, including the screen. What have you seen from him? How do him and Ray complement each other? And is that number 2 Vine starting to play kind of like the same as your starting level?
Yeah, you know, I think from a Jamal standpoint, I've said this multiple times, I think Jamal is one of the best players in our program. And, you know, it's the consistency of being that guy all the time that is really Jamal's great challenge. And, you know, he's a guy that, again, here's a senior, he's a guy that's 4th year in our program, and really starting to play his absolute best football of his career. And we need it, you know, and him and Ray, those 2 in there, that's a position where I think it's really hard just to have one guy. I think it's a situation where it's got to be 2 guys manning that, because of the just the sheer contact collision that spot plays. And to have 2 guys like those 2 in there, we're really fortunate. And both those guys have certainly given us a great springboard here the last couple weeks to playing at a really high rate on the D-line.
You were talking when you're talking about Allen, about him being a culture changer, and I know you talked about David and Hakeem and Joel Lane, guys like that not only were special people in that sense, but also were really special players. And now there's a lot of guys on this team that never really got an opportunity to be around those guys as much. I know Joel and Kyle are obviously both here now, but how important is it then to have people like, whether it's Sheldon Croney or Deshaunte Jones, or you know, those guys that can kind of be the culture carriers in a sense to bring it into the next generation?
Well, I think you got to have somebody that's got to be willing to stand on the forefront to change it. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head. You have to have somebody that's demanding to carry it on. And everybody asks, what do you think about this team? You know, and everybody's about this year's team. And it's what I love about this year's team, because probably from top to bottom, the best group of culture kids that I've ever been around. And, you know, and what you hope is that just continues to intensify. You know, you hope that Marcel Spears and Ray Lima pass it on to the next generation of players in the program, and that continues to carry forward. And the great programs that I've fortunately had to be a part of, that's what happens. You don't want to let the rope down. You watch, and then you get to watch some of these guys, you know, whether it's professionally go on and play the sport, or whether it's in life. You know, Spencer Benton comes back all the time, and this guy's thriving in life as a human being. And you got so many of those guys, that J.D. Wagner, and so many of those guys that come back that they're just excelling at life. And it's great that these NFL guys are doing it, and obviously we talk about it because we're in the sports business, but man, to have some of these guys that were so critical to our success want to come back and be around. And like I said, I think the thing I appreciate about Alan is Alan spent 3 days here with our receivers this summer, just working with our kids and taking what he learned and giving back to those guys. You know, David was back here this past Thursday and Friday with our football team. Like, to me, that's where you hope your program gets, that guys want to be back a part of it, that they know they're the reason why we're having success, and the fact of, hey, we want to see this thing carry on and continue to be successful, and I do appreciate that greatly.
Are we paying enough attention to Mike Rose moving back and forth positions? Because he did it again on Saturday and did pretty well at it.
Yeah, you know, I don't think we are, you know, Chris, and I think it's a great point. And I think Mike has been the storyline, and for me, has been the storyline of our defensive success, period, because I think anybody that's an All-American type football player as a freshman and then is asked to move from his position as a freshman to a sophomore for the betterment of the team, I think that falls in line with the Lannings and the Kemps and that humility of doing what's best for the team, even though it's not what's best for you. And, you know, I think then having this unique ability to flip-flop, you're right, he played almost the whole second half at Mike linebacker and played incredible. You know, I think it's just a testament to who Mike Rose is. I think it's testament to what kind of player he truly is. I think the athleticism and I think the football awareness that you have to be able to do that, because they're so drastically different spots. It's not like we're saying, hey, Mike and Will. We're talking Mike and say linebacker. That's almost like a nickel, you know, in a lot of ways. And so just a lot of credit to him. He's been an anchor for us and really been a steadying force in every way, shape, and form for this defense.
All right, Coach, thanks.
Thanks.